Hi, everybody. We're live once again, as we are every Tuesday and Friday from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco. I'm your host, Tom Emmett, here representing ostensibly the Balboa Yacht Club. My co-host, the famous Julia Vatikin, Commodore of Beach Street Yacht Club, and a longtime member of St. Fancy, the St. Fancy Yacht Club, St. Francis Yacht Club. Julia, I trust you're well.
I'm not.
Why not? Because your elevator's not working. You have to call the elevator man.
I know.
We still got on the air on time, notwithstanding that we had a bit of a problem with the elevator, but let's get to show number 924. We start off with a Phil Ewell photo.
Wow.
A beautiful photo there of San Francisco Bay, and from the Big Boat series now many years ago in the IOR days. This is show. And this slide, but this show is dedicated to a close family member who passed away last night in the Eamon family. We are going to sorely miss her. She loved spinnakers. She loved flying spinnakers, was very good at it. And we dedicate the show to her. Julia, let's get to the starting line. Where Blake Middleton is saying, the famous Commodore Julia is looking great as usual.
Oh, God.
Joe Holtzman, former Michigander in Colorado. Clark Chapin in Michigan still. And Claire Harrington, Commodore Harrington, driving between Annapolis, Maryland, back home to Greenwich, Connecticut. She is
peripatetic.
Peripatetic is the word, Julia. Let's get to the starting line. Did I say finish line at the top? Starting line. Happy Tuesday and happy International Seaweed
Puree
Day. Julie, do you have any idea what that means?
Oh, no, but I'm afraid I'm going to find out.
It's a spread, not a bread. We'll get into that. Bravo Zulu to Gordon Ingate, a.k.a. Wingnut, longtime friend, and he is now Australia's oldest living Olympian at age 100. He is still sailing.
Oh, good.
And racing, and he just passed 100 a couple weeks ago. We'll celebrate him at the top of the show.
Nice.
Coaching Corner, of course, Jon Emmett's regular segment, our correspondent from the UK, regular correspondent. He's doing a SailGP retrospective and thinking fondly of the 2016 Rio Olympics and the madness that was the race courses there, not unlike what we saw with SailGP this past weekend. Speaking of which, that's our topic, our main theme for today, and the historic win by Tommy Slingsby from Australia and his team, the Bonds Flying Roos. They won all 4 races on Sunday, Julia. That's never happened before in SailGP. Bravo Zulu to them, winning all 4 races, including the final on Sunday. That was a dominant performance by the Australian team. Cup Date 1, here's the Aussie Challenge, is still progressing. Are they a day late and more than $1 short, or do they have some other backers we have yet to hear about, Julia? We have an AAAA from Alistair Murray at his other club out at Meetong Yacht Club, the Easter Regatta with Sandringham Yacht Club Vice Commodore and now a Fozy. This will be her first appearance on the show, live to tape. Catherine Fury, Chris Fury's wife, who is the Vice Commodore of Sandringham. Last leg, Super Series 52, the 2026 season debuts in Puerto Portales in the first week in May. We'll give you a little preview of that. Plus, this day in history, Whiskey Tango, Foxtrot, and of course, our fantastic Fozy. On the show that is yacht racing news, views, and notables. The only live show in the sport every Tuesday and Friday is Christopher Gillingham and Jane check in from Leamington in the UK. Clark Chapin wondering if that syndicate, the Aussie syndicate, is short $1 or an Aussie dollar. Fritz Mueller, who's a big supporter of this show. Hi from Miami. Hello, Fritz. Nice to have you on again. Rick Banner, another contributor. Hola from 84 degrees, warm Connecticut.
Wow.
Wow.
It's supposed to be snowing there tomorrow.
It's about, is it in Connecticut? It's about 55 here. It's cold. Peter Stevenson, I think, is back from Vietnam, was racing as well. Chris Fury, speaking of Chris, we'll have that segment with his wife and Alistair later in the show. But this is another Aussie. We're featuring Aussies today. A Bravo Zulu to, well, the centennian? What do you call somebody who's 100?
Centenarian.
Centenarian. Thank you, Julia. And that, of course, is Wingnut, Gordon Ingate, longtime friend. He looks, wait till you see the interview that ABC television did with him. Australia's oldest living Olympian, Gordon Ingate, has just celebrated his 100th birthday. And he sounds great, too. Gordon Ingate, 100 years old, is, as we said, Australia's oldest living Olympian. He competed in the 72 game. He tried to go in 48 and 52, but his boss wouldn't let him have the time off.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that terrible?
It is.
But according to ABC and many others, they had a massive, in fact, I was invited to his birthday party down in Sydney, but I couldn't go. Remember that?
Yeah.
Proving his extraordinary longevity, Ingate won his last national Dragon class title at the ripe old age of 94, just 6 years ago. We covered that on the show. Wingnut, as he's fondly known by just about everybody in the sailing community, both up here and, of course, down in Australia. He's been a New York Yacht Club member since 1982, and I don't know how many clubs in Australia he was a member of. He skippered Gretel 2 in the Challenger trials, one of 4 Challengers in the 1977 lead up to the 77 Cup. And I've known him not since 77, but with great pleasure. We've sailed together a fair bit on George Carmony's New York 40. And we sailed together back several regattas, New York Yacht Club annual regattas and so on. And he is intense on a boat. He's very good on a boat. He wants to win and not much else.
Yes.
But he's a great guy, especially on shore after the racing.
Yes.
He joined the club just a year after I did, so we have a lot of connections and fond memories of Gordon Ingate. Australian Sailing Chief Executive Malcolm Page also has paid tribute, as have Matt Allen and a number of others, and thanks, Alistair, for sending me some of this, Alistair Murray. Gordon represents the very best of our sport, Page said. His passion, curiosity, and commitment to sailing have spanned a century, inspiring countless Australians along the way. To reach 100 years of age as Australia's oldest living Olympian is an incredible milestone, but it is the legacy he has built through perseverance, innovation, and a lifelong love of sailing that will stand the test of time. And then a little feature here from 7 News in Australia.
When Australia's oldest living Olympian first took to Sydney Harbour, the bridge was brand new. Now he's written himself into the record books.
Gordon Ingate took to the water today, becoming the first centenarian to compete in a Sydney regatta.
History on the harbour, under sail and brilliant blue skies. Regatta racing as it's always been done, and no one knows that better than Gordon Ingate.
At the moment, I'm 100 plus 9 days.
Skippering in today's inaugural Royal Prince Edward Yacht Club Classic, likely making him the first ever Australian sailor to compete at more than 100 years old.
Pretty impressed with that because it was something that I didn't think I'd ever make.
He is Australia's oldest living Olympian, competing in the 1972 Munich Games.
I think I've been very fortunate indeed.
In a global career, sailing America's Cup Challenges, raced against royalty, and in many Sydney Hobarts, including on this 28-footer Jasna back in 1950. It took 7 days, and new rules means today it's now too small to compete.
What I do like about yacht racing is at the start you get a starting gun. We'd like to hear the next gun, which is the finishing gun, and that's what keeps me driving.
Gordon first took to these waters aged 9, long before most of that skyline. The bridge was brand new.
My brother taught me sailing.
In the Sea Scouts, the start of a passion for this sport, for this harbour.
You're only going to have a look at it, it is fantastic.
100 years old and sailing on. What's next?
To stay alive for the next start.
Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Great stuff, and from a great guy. all sorts of stories, but I'll tell one from Ed Worley when his 12-meter crew was old, according to other syndicates, out in 77. And he was quoted when they got to Newport saying, "Daughters, lock up your mothers."
Lovely.
And Blake Middleton, what a great story about a true champion in Oz and beyond. Gordon Smith likes his first name. And it's nice to see Mark Michelson on our weather guru. He's saying 100 is the new 40.
Yes.
When Leslie and I first went the first time through Sydney on our way to Perth, and Wingnut knew we were flying through. It was an awful flight. It was at the holidays, and we had one of these puddle jumpers that stopped I don't know how many times in the States, and then through the Pacific, and finally get to Sydney. And you think you're to Perth or close to it, but that's like being in Miami when you're going to LA or San Diego. It's still a long haul. And Gordon and his wife and son insisted that because we had a 3-4, I don't know how many hour layover in Sydney before we got on the plane to Perth. He insisted on picking us up, taking us up the Sky Tower for lunch, getting a look around. It was our first time to Sydney,
yes,
as well as to Australia. And and poured us full of, wine.
To make ready for this flight.
Well, to make ready for the America's Cup in Rio and Perth. Gordon Ingate, 100 years old, 100 and now a few days old.
9.
Well, yeah, it was 9. I think that reports even a few more days older than that. But he just had a massive birthday party in Sydney, and a lot of our friends were there. So bravo, Zulu. Wingnut.
Yes.
Julia, you're what, 87? You got to make it to 100 to match Gordon.
That's only 13 years.
You ought to make that easy. Plus, he not only looks great, but he sounds.
He did.
100%. Great stuff. What a great interview and an inspiration to youth and all of us as his.
And even us oldies.
As his fellow Aussie. Pedro Stevenson, Peter Foiling Sailor says of Gordon Ingate. Julia, what are we celebrating today? Speaking of seaweed puree.
I have no idea.
You don't? Does anybody in the chat know what we're talking about? It's celebrated every April 14th. It probably helps if you're a Brit. It probably helps if you are Welsh. You know what our It's Okay team says about Wales and Welsh?
No.
When somebody has been overserved and they start slurring their words, we say, he's speaking Welsh. This is a Welsh holiday. Blake says, my beloved mother is now 93, so the inspiration continues. Gordon Smith has the answer. It's laverbread, Julia. That is called laverbread. And it's not the bread, it's the spread.
Yeah.
From Wales, stewed seaweed on bread or toast. April 14th is, believe it or not, International Laverbread Day.
I've avoided it this
Julia,
whole time.
that's what it looks like on a plate.
Well, you're the big guy who's big on greens.
I like seaweed. I've had fried seaweed in any number of Chinese restaurants, and you put a little something on top of it, and it's quite good, especially when you eat it with chopsticks. So have you ever, and all this is a sailing show, have you ever tasted the sea in a single bite? Laverbread, a beloved Welsh delicacy, brings that experience to the table. Despite its name, it's not bread at all, but a rich, savory paste made from slow-cooked seaweed that they pick off the rocks.
Yeah.
Harvested along the Welsh coast, this deep green treasure is packed, as you can imagine, with minerals and bursting with umami flavor. For generations, it has been a staple in traditional Welsh breakfasts, often served with a crispy bacon and fresh cockles. What a combo.
Yeah.
Each spoonful carries the essence of the ocean, a taste shaped by tides and tradition. Julie, we got to have some of this.
Yeah.
Honoring this dish means celebrating a way of life rooted in the sea. Coastal communities have relied on laver for centuries, turning a simple ingredient into something remarkable. Recognizing its importance highlights not just culinary tradition, but a deep respect for nature's gifts, Julia. That's what it looks like in the frying pan alongside the cockles. And it looks more like Canadian bacon than American bacon, but this classic Welsh combination of Laverbread with cockles and bacon reflects the way coastal communities paired land and sea and shore resources on a single plate. Cockles raked from sandy estuaries, bacon from inland farms, and laver from rocky shores created, I don't know, I really like this story. This is the last slide. Created a calorie-dense, mineral-rich meal that suited physically demanding work, sailors, fishermen, and more. And this trio is frequently cited as Welsh food histories as one of the country's most characteristic regional breakfasts.
I'd like to try that.
Commodore Harrington says seaweed tastes like low tide. David James, I'm sure they serve it at all the Welsh restaurants worldwide. Oh, wait. Yeah, it's apparently it's related to a Japanese seaweed dish as well, or the Japanese may be related to the Welsh. Clayt Embley says sushi, we call that bait where I come.
I know.
Julia,
Yes.
you'd think poorly of me
Oh, yes.
if I didn't have a video.
Congratulations.
Laverbread, known as baralor in Welsh, is a traditional Welsh dish made from laver seaweed. Often referred to as Welshman's caviar, this delicacy has been a staple in Welsh cuisine for centuries. It traces its roots back to the early coastal communities of Wales, where seaweed was abundant and became an essential food source. Rich in nutrients, laver seaweed is often cooked into a fine puree and served with toast or mixed in with oatmeal to create a hearty breakfast. Beyond its nutritional benefits, Laverbread holds cultural significance, symbolizing the resourcefulness of the Welsh people through history. Have you had the opportunity to taste Laverbread, or perhaps have another intriguing seaweed-based dish to recommend?
Again, I've had fried seaweed in Chinese restaurants. Quite good.
Yeah.
It looks like you're eating that little green plastic off the end of a cocktail toothpick, the thing you stick in the olives and so on.
No,
but
it's
it tastes okay.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of our Fozy or others viewers today have had this in Wales or otherwise. Gordon says, to be honest, there isn't any food that bacon can't make taste good. Bacon is both a condiment and counts as both protein and vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
Clayt Embley says seaweed is an old Indian name meaning bad farmer. Okay, Julia, that's what we're celebrating today. And we're celebrating Tommy Slingsby and his wins of the Bonds Flying Rouge, who we've said won all 4 races on Sunday in Rio. We're also celebrating our regular submission from our UK correspondent in the Coaching Corner with Super Fozy, Jon Emmett.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Well, a very warm welcome to Jon Emmett's Coaching Corner. I've just enjoyed watching the SailGP, this time in Rio. A fond memory for me, looking back at the Olympic Games there. Like, wow, that's about a decade ago now, which seems a long time. And it's nice to see actually a lot of the athletes involved in the SailGP were also there at that Rio Olympic Games. And I think the Olympics, it's a very special thing. In fact, it's the closest part of sailing to my heart, because I think this one person per country, it's a real life-changing experience for people. But it's often a stepping stone to SailGP, America's Cup, or any other type of professional sailing. And I really enjoyed watching the event, and it was particularly good to see Tom Slingsby and his team perform well after the disappointment they had in Sydney, especially on the second day in Rio. They looked dominant, and I've seen this a lot. I think people think my job as a sailing coach, especially Ilka coaches, more kicker on upwind, less kicker downwind, bigger angles downwind, smoother steering upwind, or whatever. Actually, a lot of it is the psychology. I mean, I think back to Lily in the medal race. That was very much about psychology in 2012. And you see this a lot where the sailors will have a disappointing regatta, so for the Australians in Sydney, and they use that, and whether it's motivation or something actually slightly less tangible, they bounce back. And I've seen it, as I said, in the Olympic Games a lot of times where people finish 4th and then they come back with a golden medal 4 years later. But fantastic to watch. I think it does beg the question, though, about fairness and quality of racing versus, jeopardy and drama. Now, as a spectator, it was wonderful to see people having to roll the dice to get around the Wimber mark. They one-way track most of the time, needed to approach on port, possibly slightly over the ley line, so as to be coming in at huge speed, because we knew that there was very little wind at the top of the course compared to the bottom because of the proximity of Sugarloaf Mountain, something I was very aware of for the medal races for Rio. But at the same time, that made good viewing. On the other hand, if I'm a sailor at on the water, which I can only dream of, that's not going to happen to me at SailGP, I'll be saying, please put the Wimber mark 250 metres downwind to make it easier. Of course, that makes the racetrack even smaller. I mean, it's the same, if you have lots and lots of boats on a start line, you get a crowded start line. And my understanding is next season, the fleet will be split into two, so there'll be a little bit less crowning. But yeah, it's this compromise between, the sort of the quality of racing and the spectator side of it, because obviously the closer you put the marks/boats to the spectators, arguably the better for them. Although I guess an awful lot on the majority audience is the online audience through YouTube or whatever other platforms they are. But I mean, in my mind, I always want the people who sailed the best over the entire regatta to win. And for me, I came away with a big smile because I thought, for whatever reasons, because the devil's always in the detail, the Australians sailed by far the best. It does seem that when the conditions become tricky, it does reward the more experienced teams. In other words, they are less uncomfortable in those demanding conditions. But I've really enjoyed it. Of course, there's some niggles. I do wonder behind the scenes whether there's a few boats that may have had issues. And of course, I feel very sorry for Pete Burling and the team for Pete to be in the commentary box rather than on the water. Although I did get to know a little bit more about his sort of thoughts and his personality and so on. And I always prefer commentary from people who actively coach or sail or whatever the class that they're talking about, because it really shows. I get Tom's thing with having non-sailing CEOs, but I think in terms of commentary, you definitely need somebody who knows their subject. So with that in mind, wishing everybody a really good week, and sail fast, sail safe, and keep having fun.
Jon Emmett's Coaching Corner, Julia, another great one.
Indeed.
Jon Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. And I'll come back to his report in a moment, after we remind everybody about pushing for Paralympic sailing in the 2032 Olympic Games in Brisbane. We want everybody, if you have any influence with your national authority, with World Sailing, with Paralympics, the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, that you help get our sport reinstated, at least as a demonstration event in Brisbane, if not bigger picture long term. And I thought Jon's ruminations or his thoughts about SailGP were spot on. A couple of other Julia, I'm just looking behind you. I hope one of those pictures, they're magnetically pushed over, though the one over your shoulder is 90 degrees crooked. I hope Rick Bannerow doesn't notice. I put his picture back up crooked.
Poor thing, I can't see it.
The things I notice here in the studio. I thought Jon was spot on, and Magnus the Magnificent, Magnus Wheatley, any number of other people, Yachts and Yachting, Richard Gladwell, who wrote quite extensively about venue versus income, spectators. And
Right.
It's a tough road to hoe to try to put the courses in close to the beach, in close to the grandstands, to even have grandstands, yet keep the racing fair and, well, above all else, safe.
Yes.
And I am a traditionalist. I am not amused by this madness. The good news is, as Jon said, the best team probably still won. But when you see the Brits take the pounding they did, Dylan Fletcher and co., over the weekend, and you know how good they are. The starting line, is Commodore Harrington, who's a superb race officer, pointed out when we were chatting during the racing Saturday and Sunday in the Fosey thread.
Yeah.
She said, look at that starting line. The starting line is supposed to be 1.5 boat lengths long That's the standard kind of yardstick
Yeah.
for the length of a starting line. And even if you said, okay, they're starting on a reach, so let's make the starting line 1.5 boat widths. Take the beam of the boat, the width of the boat, multiply that times 1.5 and make that the starting. Well, it was nowhere near that.
Yeah.
So the starting line is smaller. You couldn't get all the boats through it at once. So the guys and gals that figured out get up there close and park and then accelerate at the last minute through the line.
Right.
We're blocking all the boats that tried to get on their foils and tried to punch through.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's just another tactical consideration.
And the Spanish were good at that. They
Spanish, your team.
Yeah, my team.
Your team had pretty good starts. But as Jody Shields is saying, SailGP is entertainment. It's a TV show using sailing boats. It's as simple as that. But I'll say one more thing for Tom and co. in that boat, and that is that he is faster than anybody else almost all the time. Light air, you know, used to be faster in a breeze, but now with this new big wing, he and his team, Ian Jensen, Goobs, have figured that, and the rest of their team have figured that big wing out. They were overpowered. I'll show you a video in a minute, and that's why he won. But as Jon Emmett will tell you, as I've always said, Julia, there's no substitute for boat speed. Yes. I have been tactically brilliant when I've had great boat speed.
I think that's true, though.
And I've been tactically a crouton when I don't have good boat speed, and it's always the same, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And Chris actually pointing out that Taylor Canfield had good starts. That team is now third overall, I think, in the standings.
Mm-hmm.
So what else here? Okay, I think we've pretty well covered the comments. So let's get into the whole SailGP report, our feature for today. Of course, it was last weekend, the 11th and 12th of April. It was at Enel Rio Sail Grand Prix. Enel is, I believe, an energy company. Correct me if I'm wrong. In Brazil, they were the sponsor. And here, Julia, is I've got two videos, a 2-minute, more or less, highlights video from Saturday and then Sunday.
For the first time, SailGP came to Brazil, but the breeze in Rio was hard to find. Unless, of course, you're the wind whisperer.
Absolutely on fire, really picked his way through the fleet.
Nathan Outteridge and the Artemis crew started the regatta on form. No such luck for the hosts, however, as a technical issue kept Martini Grail's team out of the first two races. It was a familiar story in Guanabara Bay. Get out in front, and it's yours to lose.
Good news for the Spanish fans. That hulls up should mean they can build speed. Look at the top of the mast.
Beautiful shift out on the left for Artemis up that last speed.
The United States SailGP team carried on their form from Sydney.
Canfield is the master on the start in these light winds.
With no result worse than fifth, Canfield and crew sit impressively in second overall. Red Bull Italy had their moment in the limelight, leading from start to finish in race 3. In race 4, Germany Deutsche Bank chased down the Bonds Flying Ruse.
Yeah, we can go around.
Here we go, chase time, Rolex chase time now, down to 7 seconds between the Germans and the Australians. And with the help of a penalty on the Aussies,
how didn't we keep clear?
And this is going to make, he's opening the door for the Germans. You've got to go around the outside, Eric.
I see finish. Which one?
But he swings it round the outside, they're still foiling. This is going to go the way of the Germans, Todd.
Eric Heil claimed the final race. 4 races and 4 different winners on day 1. But it's the Bonds Flying Ruse that are on top of the standings on 28 points. They're 1 point clear of US SailGP and Artemis, the top 3. Then it's Germany Deutsche Bank, Los Gallos, Red Bull Italy, and Rockwell Racing.
Yeah, we had a good day today. I mean, we battled through. We had some bad starts and still managed to chip away some good results. So we're really happy. A few things go our way, and I think we might be able to win some races.
That is Tommy Slingsby, is so upbeat, so positive. What did Hugh Jackman and those guys call him? We'll see the video, but not the ginger crouton, but the ginger something else in that video. But he's so good. And so, as Jody pointed out to me over the weekend, Ian Jensen Goobs has a lot to, as the wing trimmer, has a lot to do.
And that shows.
It sure does, Julia. And they sailed extremely well. And you could see how dreadful that racing was. I mean, that was not a fun day. We were sitting here, and a lot of us are in a chit and a chat online while we're watching that racing. And it was not exactly, it was light. It was kind of 4 knots-ish. And they had those huge wings on and left those wings on for the second day when the breeze came up and they were overpowered. And we'll show you that video now.
The Enel Rio Sail Grand Prix began with 4 teams each making their mark for a place in the final on day 1. Artemis, Los Gallos, Red Bull Italy, and Germany all took a race win. But it was Tom Slingsby's Bond Flying Ruse that held the overnight lead with a consistent set of results and was desperate to land a win on day 2.
A few things go our way, and I think we might be able to win some races.
The Bond Flying Ruse put in a masterclass in tricky conditions to win all 3 fleet races on day 2. Despite Los Gallos trying their best to upset the scorecard in race 6.
Oh, wow, aggressive from Spain.
And as much as Taylor Canfield and the US Sail GP team tried,
Well, here we go. The USA have done a nice job working their way back through the fleet.
they couldn't match the skills of Los Gallos, who made it to yet another final this season.
They're going to go around the outside here. Remember, they don't have to beat the USA, though, Todd. They've just got to be close.
Nathan Outridge found all the answers to the questions Rio was asking.
As they call him the Wind Whisperer.
To take Artemis to their first final.
Almost dead even across the line as they approach mark number 1. It's NASCAR on water here in Brazil.
With the Bonds Flying Ruse and Artemis locked in a duel, Los Gallos split at Mark 2 to the other side of the course.
I think the Spanish may have made a little bit of a game.
Outridge and Artemis were in the lead until a mistake gave the Aussies the advantage.
It still comes down to the basics as well. Artemis, they had a little bit of a wobble. They almost tried to force the foil. They fell off the foils. There you go. Slingsby didn't make that mistake. What a moment, and it was just come down to handling.
A penalty at the mark made it worse for the Swedish team.
This is the umpires. Penalty speed for Sweden.
And Tom Slingsby brought the Bonds Flying Ruse home to win 4 races out of 4 on day 2 in Rio. It is the Bonds Flying Ruse that take the win. Los Gallos Spain finish in 2nd, Artemis in 3rd, and US Sail GP just missing out. They finish in 4th. So after 4 events, it is the Bonds Flying Ruse that lead the way.
The Bond, that's kind of he ended on a California up talk. We didn't know that he was wrapping that up. Okay, good video, SailGP video, rehash of days 1 and the video we've just seen of day 2. So let's go back now and look at that moment, because I agree with Jon Emmett, who mentioned what a good job Pete Burling did with the commentary. I thought he did a superb job as a commentator. Why don't they just, I mean, Pete wants to go yacht racing. He doesn't want to be in the commentary booth. But this was the moment that, and I put this on my Facebook page, I was watching the race and did a screen grab when we saw this happen, because I thought Nathan was going to pass Tom up there at the end of the 3rd leg, going into the, I guess it was the windward gate. And Tom did a better tack. And again, they got the big wing, they're overpowered, and he and the rest of his team did a better job controlling the boat and didn't bury their bows when a puff hit. You can see the puff over the top there. See this water over here, and it was a bit of a puff. And you can see Nathan's bow underwater, and Tom popped up on the foils. And that's basically why they won. And then at the next mark, you heard the commentator say there was a penalty to Nathan port starboard with the Spanish, which I'm sure was the right call, but at that point it was also the right umpire call, but it was also the right call by Nathan to try to get across on port tack. That was his only chance of getting to getting ahead and winning the race, if he could somehow haul Tommy in on the next leg. So that was the winning moment, in my opinion. And after the racing, Andy Rice of The Foil talked to Tom Slingsby.
Not only were the Aussies reading the conditions really well, they seem to have mastery of this 27.5 metre rig in conditions where they shouldn't even be using it because it was just too windy for it. So they've somehow managed to find this flow state and get the whole team choreographed so that they were getting the boat through these really difficult conditions very, very well.
Yeah, very difficult with the 27 metre wing up range. I mean, we continuously were just overpowered all day, and you see Goobs trying to depower the wing and easing. It's just a slack wing sheet. But we spoke a lot about it, said, look, today if the wing comes in, we're going to be overpowered. Sam on the jib sheet, he's going to have to help Goobs out. So Sam was, every time the wing sheet went slack, Goobs said, we're slack, and Sam eased the jib, and then he would get tension back in the wing. So the way those guys were working together, and also with Jason flying the boat, like he knew how to sort of get power back in the boat. He's raking back extra to sort of roll the boat into windward to get the load back in the sheet. They just did such an amazing job of that today. It was really impressive to see how well everyone gelled.
Okay, a great video, great explanation, I thought, from Tom. Didn't you like that, Julia?
I didn't really understand that when I was watching.
And as usual, as we say in yacht racing, you got to, like, you know, we use the American football term of blocking and tackling.
Yeah.
In football, when you're blocking and tackling the opponent, but in yacht racing, it's blocking and tackling too. You've got to ease in the puffs, trim in the light, and there's got to be coordination between the helm and both the headsail and the big sail, the main, in this case, the wing. And I think, Tommy, as you heard and could see if you were watching closely, and had Jon Emmett giving you comments during as we did, those of us who are watching on the Fozy chat, you can just see they're a touch quicker, a touch better coordinated on Tom's boat. Great stuff. So now let's talk. They call him the Wind Whisperer, and you know, okay, it's a nickname that he is good in light air. And we go back, I don't know how many America's Cups where he went up the rig and was looking around. But you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's other people who can do that and have done that. And Nathan's a hell of a good sailor, no question about it. But you know, all these guys and gals can read the water and really are superb in these strange, puffy conditions. And Rio's about as strange as they come because you have the three mountains and the wind coming in and around, wrapping around. It's pretty bloody crazy. Here's Nathan.
Pretty horrible most of the time, the 27 metre wings. They're so big and heavy and make the boats feel so laboured. Even yesterday, we were sort of chatting about it a bit, like would we be better to keep the boats lighter and use the 24 metre wing? But at least then, if it does get a bit breezy, you can put your full 6 crew on. The hardest thing today was you couldn't move the wing sheet because you had one lonesome grinder up there working as hard as they could, and the boat was really out of balance. And you know, Drake was saying you'd run to the leeward side of the boat and the leeward side stays flapping around in the breeze. So yeah, I think a consensus across the group was we prefer not to use these wings unless you're not in foiling conditions. But we're here today, we did it. The wings are still in the sky, and hopefully we won't have to do that again.
Yeah, hopefully, he says. And what about the Brits? This was a tough weekend for the Brits. Have a look.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad day, pretty bad weekend, to be honest. Every time we felt like we got into an all right position off the start or something today, just, yeah, little mistakes, penalties, rightly or wrongly. Then we ended up getting sucked back to the back and just, yeah, couldn't make any decisions work for ourselves. And yeah, it was, to be honest, just a tough weekend. But I think overall the team's in a positive space. Obviously look to take what we can from this weekend in terms of learnings from ourselves and from other teams, and then, yeah, regroup and come back stronger in Bermuda. Oh, conditions were classic. Rio racing on that Sugarloaf course, you know, right under Sugarloaf, the wind coming pretty much from Sugarloaf. So, you know, bouncing down off the mountain, big vacuums at the top marks where you could just get stuck for a while, which we definitely managed to do. And yeah, just super tough conditions, but yeah, full snakes and ladders. But yeah, obviously, you know, it's never nice to do badly, especially this badly, but I think take everything with a pinch of salt. It's SailGP, we know it's tough, we know this race course was always going to be super tough. And as I said, just take what we can in terms of learnings and, you know, regroup, reassess, have a little bit of a break, and then come back fighting.
Anna Mills with the Emirates GBR SailGP team, and tough weekend for them. Here's the prize giving. after the television show was over. We didn't get to see this on the TV show, but nonetheless, a great weekend for the Bonds Flying Ruse, Tom Slingsby and co. And there are the overall standings now after Rio headed to Bermuda. Tom and co. with 35 points. Is it 35? 35 points, and then down from there, Emirates on 28. So Dylan's not out of it by any stretch. He's on 28 points, having had good regattas up till now. And Taylor Canfield is rising.
Yes, that's nice to see.
Isn't that? 27 points in third. Los Gallos, your favorite team, Julia, and Diego Botín in fourth with 25 points. And Artemis Nathan Outeridge's squad on 23 points. And Tom's getting all the attention. We'll try to find some video from the US SailGP that's something other than a Tommy Hilfiger commercial. And maybe I can dig some out for Friday's show. But nonetheless, they're one of the sponsors of the Bonds Flying Ruse had a very clever this YouTube video just before the regatta started. And I was criticized for not playing it on Friday's show, and here it is on Tuesday.
Nautical Almanac of 1902, loaded with superstitions. Have you read this?
Absolutely not.
We need to make some major changes.
Well, right. We've been owners of a sailing team for like 5 minutes. Let's not start blowing things up.
Rule 37, thou shalt not have a red-haired person aboard thy vessel. It's a bad omen.
Tom.
Yeah, Tom. That little ginger crumpet fucker is as red as the blood moon.
Firstly, he's a great driver. And
Rule 31, we will need a cat. We need a team cat immediately.
Cat?
Ye felines protect ships from evil spirits and guard sailors' souls. So you're not concerned about our sailors' souls, Hugh?
Now, what I'm concerned about is Air 50 reaches speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. The league is not going to allow a cat on board.
Fine. As long as we don't change the name of the boat, we should be fine. That's the big no-no.
Brian, we just changed the name of the boat to the Bonds Flying Ruse.
How the fuck are we not completely and totally fine?
Their company Monday.com is the sponsor of that ad. Clever ad. I'm sorry for the what the SailGP commentators would call industrial language. What's happening to us? Trump uses the F-bomb in one of his Truth Social posts, and these guys are using it. I mean, we've never said that on this show, have we? And we wouldn't. And the ginger, Julia, the ginger crumpet. Is a crumpet better or worse than a crouton?
Oh, crumpet's better.
You think so? Crouton is a mild pejorative, and a crumpet is
tasty.
Yeah, everybody abuses the word super. Rick Bannerow pointing out Pete Super Pistol Pete is another serial abuser. Yeah, they all use super all the time, and the super. Well, of course, we use it too. Super Posey to describe them. Okay, that's our report on the Sail GP in Rio. This wrapped up on Sunday, and how Tom Slingsby and co. won, especially, this is a historic occasion. They won all 4 races on Sunday. That's never happened before, where a team won all the races on a given day. So bravo Zulu to him. Let's move ahead smartly now to the America's Cup. We can't say it's in quite as good a shape as Sail GP is, at least in terms of having a regular regatta every month, and much more than that, a great television show. And yeah, okay, you can argue about the race management and the courses, and it's not perfect, but they got problems in Naples. I told you about this last Friday, and this protest, and these protests are escalating, and this is against Bagnoli. It's we cannot ignore the modalities and questions of the environment, social health, and ethical level. These are the citizens are worried about the rehab of Bagnoli, which is to be the venue for the team bases. And as I said, this has escalated. It's gotten violent, or a little violent. I talked to Margherita Bottini, texted with her this morning. She says, don't worry about it. This is just more kind of political protesting, and it's not going to stop things. It may slow things down a bit, but it's not going to stop them. So says Margherita. This is an article that appeared yesterday, I think, may have been today, in Sailing Addicted, and other media are picking this up. General media is picking it up, and also the specialist media for the Sailing America's Cup 2027 in Naples. Between major works and protests, this is a Google Trans from the Italian. The road to the America's Cup 2027 in Naples meets the first difficulties on the ground while preparations are underway to welcome international teams in the Bagnoli area where the team bases are to be built. The tension between the residents of Via Diocletiano is growing. The protests have slowed down the means to the, I don't know what Coroglio is, the Coroglio construction sites, highlighting the social and structural criticalities of the territory. The goal remains to complete the infrastructure by May, next month, to allow the arrival of the first unions, meaning teams. The most prestigious sailing event in the world must now balance sporting ambitions with the needs of the local community in a challenge that involves the urban development of Naples and the safety of citizens. So says Sailing Addicted, not the biggest sailing publication in Italy, but a prominent one nonetheless. Flip the page here and let's give you an update on the KK Challenge, which is proceeding in fits and starts, but we told you about this over the last several weeks. We broke the news, I think, here on the show that it was coming, and Carl Komarek and Chris Welsh, a Brit, who are the partners in this American Racing Challenger Team USA, what a name, representing Challenging Yacht Club Sail Newport. Capital CYC, but Brad Reed tells me, and I'll tell you again at the end of the segment, they're not changing their name. It has been confirmed as an official challenger, as probably most of you know, for the LV 38th America's Cup, marking a major moment in the resurgence of American sailing on the global stage. I don't know where that line came from, but it's obviously a bit of an overstatement. Kenny Reed there, seen on the helm of the Super Yacht V, the Wally Cento, the 100-footer. And Ken, who's president of North Sails, a longtime friend and a hell of a good sailor, two-time Rolex, I think, Yachtsman of the Year here in this country. He is the captain of KK's yacht and also the syndicate CEO. Kenny has skippered in the Cup before, in fact, for Dennis Conner.
Oh, yes.
So he knows the Cup, but it is a horse of a different color. It's a different kettle of fish. What other metaphors can I use, Julia? When you are running a syndicate. And I'm sure Ken is finding that out as he goes forward here. Getting a lot of ink here in this country, at least. This is CNN Sports a few days ago. The oldest yacht race returning next year with a U.S. Challenger. Wow. And of course, it was looking like the 2027 edition would be the first to mark, the first time to mark without the first event, the first America's Cup without a U.S. team since 1851.
Right.
So the headline, oldest yacht race returning next year with the U.S. Challenger. This was a video interview with Ken, and American Racing Challenger Team USA, representing Challenging Yacht Club Sail Newport, has been confirmed as an official challenger, yada, yada. Major moment in the resurgence of American sailing on the global stage. Gag me with a spoon. Ken Reed, two-time Rolex Yachtsman of the Year, speaks with World Sailing's Patrick Snell about the edition, about the challenge. They are challenging through the esteemed Sail Newport, which keeps getting called the Challenging Yacht Club Sail Newport. Fantastic community sailing center there on Fort Adams in New Portia, in Newport, Rhode Island. Beautiful facility built up over the last, well, since 1983. So what is that? 40 plus years, 43 years. And for the last 28 years, the executive director has been our longtime friend, Brad Reed. And we discussed him on Friday's show and the call from him and just the assurance they are not changing. We're not changing our name, Brad says. And he says, everything's going to be fine. We're just going to act like a club. We are a club. They do run an annual regatta on an arm of the sea and have for years. So I don't think there's any problem with deed legal so far as Sail Newport is concerned. I haven't studied it extensively, but I'll give Brad and Sail Newport the benefit of the doubt. As you know, the KK Challenge, as I call it, did try to challenge through some other clubs, and it didn't work out. And they ended up going to Ken's brother, Brad, in challenging through Sail Newport. So Brad Reed there, a longtime executive director, and he's a good guy, Julie, because he's a hockey player.
Can't be all bad.
I don't know if he plays the guitar or not, but he is a hockey player.
We can teach him.
The American Racing Challenger Team USA. They have bought the American Magic assets, at least the America's Cup assets. And as we told you here a couple, 3 shows ago, we had heard, one here is that Tyson Lamond, who is the COO or was the CEO of American Magic, is going to serve in a similar or some capacity. He's still going to work down in Pensacola running things there for Terry Hutchinson and the rest of the American Magic leadership management, including Doug DeVos. But he's apparently also going to help the KK Challenge. And here is a video in that regard.
Oh, good.
My name is Tyson Lamond. I'm the Chief Operations Officer of American Magic, and we're sitting in our high-performance facility in Pensacola, Florida. We started planning this facility in 2022, and everything about the facility originally was just for the race team. I quite often say that it's not boat building anymore. I say that it's, composite manufacturing, because within our organization right now, I'd say 90% of the projects here are aerospace projects. Fundamentally, there's a big demand signal right now in the United States for the next generation of composite technicians. And here at American Magic, we're saying, okay, we've got amazing people that work in that world that, whether they build America's Cup boats or other boats for our team, can fill that at the same time as we've secured the agreement with SailGP to be their North American training hub for the next 5 years, which I think is really exciting, because ultimately so much about this facility is about how can we give opportunities to the next generation, whether it be in, design, manufacturing or sailing, and making sure that when they come in here, they're like, wow, this is what a high performance facility is, and this is what the future could look like for me if I go down this path. And so that's what I think is really cool about our SailGP partnership, is it's outside of the regattas. So whether you're giving a team that's not quite performing an opportunity to change how they do their maneuvers, or you're giving a new sailor an opportunity on board the vessel, I think that's amazing. And I think this is going to be the facility that people come into when they're getting their first opportunity. Entry-level classes like the Wasp are a great opportunity for these guys to go out foiling in a boat that is manageable from a cost perspective, but you can have a high level of racing. And when I look at a fleet out there of Wasp sailing, and you've got kids from their mid-teens, shall we say, to early 20s out there racing, and I'm like, how amazing is that? Like, the boats that I was sailing at that age certainly weren't that cool. And the fact that there's so many boats, racing in our backyard here in Pensacola, I think is absolutely amazing. This is going to create a great opportunity for teams to be able to say, okay, what about the next generation? Can we transform them across to an F50? And SailGP will end up with more and more young athletes based on the training facility, because this is going to give people an opportunity to get on the boats away from a pressure situation at a regatta, and then people to be able to say, oh my God, these young sailors are amazing. So this is how we're then going to bring people from the Wasp fleet into the SailGP fleet. And I think it's amazing. And I kind of wish I was a young sailor coming through right now, because I think the opportunities there are so different. But I genuinely feel that the sport's at a really good spot.
Tyson Lamond, the COO of American Magic, running that facility, which sounds and looks like a cool facility.
It is.
Partnership,
it does look that way.
Partnership with SailGP.
Right.
And who knows how involved they are going to be in American Magic. Apparently, American Magic will train down there. Remember, American Magic got dispensation, special dispensation. They don't have to sail in Colliery. I mean, everybody else had to, spend the money and get there, but they're just starting up, and they're desperate to have an American team. Yeah, that is the America's Cup partnership.
Yes.
To have an American team. So we'll see what role Tyson is going to play, if any, but I'm told he is going to be involved as well with American Magic. Ken has said as much, because Tyson knows the boats, the equipment,
Yes.
and so on. So we'll see how that all works out. Flip the page, go to the Aussie team. As Richard Gladwell has said, that's, I believe, one of his photos, a first look, I showed you this Friday, at Team Australia's new AC boat. And other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, there's been nothing but I can't get any of our Aussie friends to say anything. Well, that's not true. I've got one or two that are hinting around at things. Can we lose the crickets, please? Sound. Tell the sound guy, Julia, and to lose the crickets. There we go. I still believe that John Winning and Herman Winning, the Andu folks, Andu Challenge is what the name is going to be or similar. John Bertrand is going to have some sort of a titular role. They're going to challenge, I believe. I wouldn't stake even the ranch on this. This is not a one hears. This is kind of a one surmises. They're going to challenge through the CYCA, Tom and Glenn, and some of the kids from the Australian AC40s in Barcelona. Tom and Glenn, that is Tom Slingsby and Glenn Ashby, plus some of the kids from the Australian AC40s in Barcelona are going to help fill out the team. The CIC violations that Ed Worley is talking about, yes, is, we'll see how that all sorts out. Dogzilla Monster, a.k.a. Stingray up in Seattle, that comment above Ed says American Magic Services, where Tyson is COO, apropos that video we just saw, will be doing the Patriot upgrades. Remember, they don't have a lot of time. They got to convert these boats from, in their case, cyclors to batteries. I mean, John Sangmeister was on the phone to me the other day, and he shares my angst, and a lot of others of you have the same. What have we done going to battery-powered boats, push-button sailing, computer-operated? There's no physicality to this except steering and pushing buttons.
I know.
Carrying sails onto the boat. The rest is electronic.
Yes.
What have we done to our sport?
Oh.
I don't know. But they've got to fix their boat so it's CIC compliant. And there's a bit of a debate going on how they do that, but they got to do something to the bow of that boat to make it.
I kind of think that nobody knows.
Well, I think Hamish Ross has a pretty good idea. I think John Sweeney has a pretty good idea, and a few others. So hopefully the Aussies do too. They've read the protocol, and they've read, because that's where this relaxed CIC are constructed in country, which is a deed requirement that's being relaxed by the protocol to next to nothing.
How can they do that?
Well, we'll see. That could be an interesting, if this does end up in court. And with each passing day, it's, I wouldn't say it's feeling more and more like it is going to end up in court. And that's thanks to this guy, John Sweeney, who I give full marks for raising these points and writing a complaint and sending it to the Attorney General of the state of New York, and the state adjudicates the deed of gift, and the Charities Bureau of the Attorney General's office is in charge of charities, including the America's Cup, which has been held by court decisions in 1988 and in 2010, the two deed of gift court cases, that it is a New York charity and a New York charitable trust deed, and therefore the AG represents the public interest. In that case, John Sweeney has brought that case to him. John credits, he said, I haven't even paid any attention to the sport since 2007, but I was watching our show, Julia, and I could see what you all were talking about, and the deed of gift, and the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squad, and the delegation of trustee.
Yeah.
And he says that was his inspiration for ginning up the court case, drafting the complaint, which he has done with the help of one lawyer, of which I'm aware. So John Sweeney says that the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron is in violation of the deed, has filed that complaint, as most of you will know. It has gone to the Attorney General. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the Attorney General has written to the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, and whether they've gotten anything back from the RNZ, I truly don't know, Julia.
We haven't heard.
Well, I haven't, and I hear rumors that they've had nothing back. But I also hear, and this is not a one hears, so I'll back that up. One surmises from various comments from particularly New Zealand that the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron is trying to raise a legal defense fund. Yes, you look askance. Huh? I got to get that look on camera 3. Yeah, they are out trying to raise money from individuals in and around their club and beyond. I'm not going to say more than that because I know.
It's a classic case of OP.
What's that mean?
OPM.
Other people's money.
Yeah.
You're right. Ed Worley says, I've been reading all of the AC court cases and everyone needs to inform themselves, and the RNZ and the America's Cup partnership, they need to pay attention. Jody Shields back on grinders and batteries. It's probably not that big of a conversation as the grinders were still moving oil, so the hydraulic system will stay the same, but what powers it is different. I think that's right, Jody. Surely won't take much to put a battery to a pump, but then put the push buttons to the pump, Jody. And the computer control and how much computer control is legal. How easy is it to enforce? We had all sorts of problems in the Cup since, since the 80s, maybe the 90s.
It's amazing how that sort of transformed behind the scenes. And it wasn't really behind the scenes, but
it's been incremental. Each cup, there's a little more computer control, a little less human input, a little less human control, and now it's push-button sailing with batteries. Batteries, Julia.
Uh-oh.
I think the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron is in trouble. I'm glad they're raising some legal defense fund because they're going to need it. They are the worst trustee in the history of the sport, of the America's Cup.
Any chance that there is another New Zealand yacht club will stand up?
Well, it's not the matter of that. It's what does the AG decide to do? And if the AG intervenes and if it goes to court, if the AG intervenes, it's going to end up in court because then the RNZ and presumably America's Cup Partnership are going to go try to stop the AG from changing things.
Yeah.
And as I said in two shows ago, whether the AG and the courts, we don't even know if they'll flick RNZ. They might say, oh, this is no big deal.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Or they might flick RNZ or somewhere in between. And, they bad boys.
Yeah.
And fix this now. And, regardless, this could slow the whole cup down.
Of course.
By years. Because every time it's ended up in the New York courts, we thought we were going to have a cup in 90 and we ended up having it in 92 when we were in San Diego and I was running the cup there. We thought the cup was going to happen in 09 or 10 after Alinghi had their little CNEV, Club Náutico Español de Vela, and they got proven in court to being wrong about that challenge, that challenge of record that they created out of whole cloth. It was fake. It was not correct. And there was a cup, Adidas gift match in 2010, but there wasn't another cup until 2013 with multiple challengers and so on. So who knows? I can't wait for someone to run out of juice and not be able to sail, Steve Gruber says. Now, one more thought here as to the America's Cup partnership. This is what they, on their website, say is the America's Cup partnership. This historic agreement marks the first time in the event's 175-year history that competing teams have united under a shared governance, which is ipso facto a violation of the deed, and commercial structure, another probably violation, to more permanently, another violation, manage the competitions, share economics, and maximize engagement with America's Cup fans around the world. Quote,
non-sequiturs.
Well, exactly. Quote, as other highly successful sports over the past decade have demonstrated, is an interesting assertion, we believe that by partnering with our fellow teams to establish a more permanent governance, violation of the deed, and commercial organization, violation of the deed,
Mm-hmm.
we will collectively realize the incredible global growth and popularity that the America's Cup and its fans deserve, said Grant Dalton, CEO of Emirates Team New Zealand, who has appointed himself, I mean, he's been elected, but he has insisted that he be chairman of the board of America's Cup Partnership.
Now and in the future.
Well, at least for now. I mean, this is a fustercluck.
It is.
I'm sorry to say it. Okay, enough of that. To end things on a kind of positive note here, this photo from Richard Gladwell from the 2019 Tornado Worlds. Helena, or Lena, she's known, skipper Lena Sanderson in New Zealand, who was only age 14 in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again, Richard, for that photo. She is now been recruited, tested,
Mm-hmm.
and has made Team New Zealand, Emirates Team New Zealand, as one of their young stars. Have a look at this video.
To be brought onto the sailing team for the 38th America's Cup is a pretty surreal experience. We've been through quite a big trial period over the past few months, and now to officially be part of the team is a really cool moment. We've learnt so much over the past few months and kind of just starting to get stuck into it all. Can't wait to get to work.
I feel really lucky to be part of Team New Zealand. The culture here is really special. It's such an inclusive, collaborative, while still being a high-performance environment. Everyone's pushing to be the best they can at their roles. There's a huge amount of respect. It's not just about one person or one department.
It's not just sailing team or the team that goes out and sails a boat, it's everybody in Team New Zealand as a whole.
I think it's really special being in a development team because the sport is always progressing. And so that means that the questions that you're asking and the answers that you're getting are always changing. And so I think that suits my mindset quite well, in that I have quite a curious and growth mindset, and I'm always kind of keen to keep pulling at strings and keen to keep progressing and learning and just developing with this team over time.
I think it's an awesome time to be a female in the sport at the moment. I guess we're really fortunate to be kind of just stepping into that phase. It's pretty incredible that Emirates Team New Zealand are taking us on board in a full-time role. It kind of gives us more experience and exposure. So to now get that opportunity to dig in and learn as much as we can to really bridge that gap, and hopefully come the end of the year and come next campaign we can be challenging on a performance level as well.
Obviously there's the individual athlete section of how hard I can push myself and what are the limits, and simultaneously being in a team environment, every action that you do is feeding this team, and whatever role you're filling at the time, whether it's a coach or a support sailor or you're sailing yourself, is how can you get the best performance out of the team at the time, and what does your role look like. So I think that's always going to be developing.
Super exciting year and a half ahead, so much to learn, and really want to soak it all in, so to put my best foot forward to help the team going forward.
Chris, I don't know if that's Mike Sanderson's daughter or some other relation, but what a great opportunity. And for all the problems that I think Grant Dalton has created in our beloved sport with AC partnership and selling the event to first to Barcelona, then selling it to Naples instead of running it in Auckland where it should have been run, or at least in New Zealand. The job that he and Kevin Shoebridge have done with Emirates Team New Zealand in developing talent, recruiting new young talent, recruiting women, you got to give them full marks. Because,
absolutely.
Right, Julia?
Yep.
It's impressive to see, and I think, as she said, it's a great time to be a female in the sport. It's just a great time to be in the sport at the high end. You got SailGP, you've got the America's Cup, you've got the 52 Super Series. There are professional opportunities for men and women. And the Olympics, which is essentially professional now as well, Julia. So what else here in the comments? I don't see anything pressing. I see nobody has given us an answer as to whether that Lena Sanderson is Mike's daughter or not. I don't know. We'll find that out, hopefully, one way or another. Julie, we're an hour and 9 minutes into the show today, and we got some other cool segments, including this one, Julia. You can introduce it. Introduce it, Julia.
Yes, this day in history, April 14th.
What year?
1994.
Would you like a clue?
Yes. Oh, the Ted Turner.
You were going to say the mouth of the South.
I was.
You're too polite. That is R.E. Ted Turner, who was born in 1938.
Vintage.
I wonder who else was born about then, Julia.
Yeah, I wonder.
What were you, born in 39?
39.
And my dad was born in 33. What's he done? Why is he historic on this? And by the way, look, they refer to him both in Wikipedia, but also on this day, that website, On This Day. Robert Edward Ted Turner III is a businessman and
sailor.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
Nice to see. Businessman, you gave us a fist pump, Julia. Or you can repeat that. Not related to Mike Sanderson, Ian Barker tells us. Thank you for clearing that up. Fritz Mueller is speculating whether CNN was launched on this day in 1994. No, it was launched, I don't know on which day, but during the America's Cup 1980, because he won the Cup in 77 with Gary Jobson on Courageous and the rest of that superb sailing team.
Yes.
Tried to win it again in 80, but couldn't pull it off. He was busy with other things.
Had a few things going.
Including his sports team and including the Atlanta, including CNN. But he did do something else. You want one more clue?
Yep.
Lance is asking, did Jane Fonda's favorite ex? Oh, okay, yes, she did say that,
Yes.
Julia, fairly recently.
Yes.
Her favorite ex.
Absolutely.
She still loves him,
Yes.
loved him. They were great together.
Yes.
He did marry Jane Fonda, Ted Ryman, but not on this date in 1994. And Håkan Håkansson, well done. Launched TMC. Do you know what TMC? Alex Hayworth, he was busy with Jane Fonda. Do you know what TMC is?
The TV channel?
Yes. What's it stand for?
Oh, Turner Classic Movies.
Well done, Julia. Do you watch Turner Classic Movies?
Of course.
It's a very popular cable channel in this country, and Ted Turner had the foresight
to buy
up, several studios worth of classic movies.
They were about to be thrown away.
Well, they weren't going to be thrown away, but he ended up buying them for, I'm not sure, pennies on the dollar, but he saw real value going forward in cable TV, as he did as well going forward with CNN. And of course, now, not only on cable TV, but also they have a big internet presence with TCM as well. You can download them to your iPad and your phone and so on, and watch Turner Classic Movies. Fritz Mueller is saying, I watch it almost exclusively.
It's really good movies.
And I know our dear friend and Fozy, Andy Rose, down in Newport Beach, the Gov Cup guru, he watches. When I stay at his home every now and then, in fact, regularly when I'm down there, and he and Steven, his housemate, turn Turner Classic Movies on so the dog has something to watch when they go out to dinner. I'm not kidding.
Oh, well, I think that's terrific.
And then we come back and Andy wrote, there's that movie. I want to watch that again. Or, whatever.
No, I watch it.
Blake's pointing out that today the British passenger liner RMS Titanic hits an iceberg. I think Lincoln was shot on this. There were other ones, but I try to always do something related to the sea. We could have done the Titanic, but we have done that before. So on this day, Turner Classic Movies is an American movie-oriented pay television channel owned by Warner Brothers, to whom he sold all this stuff. Warner Brothers then bought Discovery. Launched on April 14th. 1994, it is headquartered at Turner's Techwood Broadcasting campus in the Midtown business section of Atlanta, Georgia, here in this country, of course. The channel's programming consists mainly of classic theatrically released feature films from the Turner Entertainment Company Film Library, which comprises, as you were saying, Julia, films from Warner Brothers, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and the North American distribution rights to films from RKO Radio Pictures. And they also are shown in Europe, in Spain, and a bunch of different countries.
It's a treasure of movies.
Ted was asked recently what were a couple of his smartest business decisions.
What's the smartest business decision you've ever made?
To do it. To do CNN and Turner Classic Movies.
In a celebrated life, projected large in the public eye,
your complete attention!
He's been cast as visionary, philanthropist, environmental activist. But of all the roles embraced by Robert Edward Ted Turner III, perhaps his most profound cultural impact has been made as champion of classic film.
Okay, that cut off rather abruptly.
Yes.
There's Commodore Otorowski on in the chat. Hi, Tom and Julia. Greetings from the bitter end. He's always in some exotic place.
Oh, say hello to the bitter end and have a swim, please.
Yes, and swim is no doubt a sail. Is one of his boats is down there past Commodore Chris Otorowski and his beloved wife, Sean, who's even smarter maybe than he is. Past Commodore and Admiral of the Seattle Yacht Club, respectively, and past Commodore of the Cruising Club of America, or President, whatever, I think Commodore they call him. Mm-hmm. Turner Classic Movies, this day in history, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
And that, what he calls one of his smartest decisions. He launched, by the way, TCM in New York City's Times Square district at 6 p.m., marking the exact centennial anniversary of the first public movie showing in New York City.
Oh, that's fun.
On this day in 1994. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we also today are blessed with an AAAA from Alistair Murray, and an interesting one featuring Chris Fury's wife, who's the Vice Commodore of the Sandringham Yacht Club. Yeah. So let's get into that with Alistair. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. Now I'm going to start it out with one picture. They were together for the Meetung. That's Alistair's other club out east of Melbourne. The Meetung Easter Regatta, which is a big deal, a lot of boats. And Vice Commodore Fury has gone out to that regatta herself for decades.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. This is Alistair with AAAA. You know what that is, Kath?
I do.
Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. This is Kath Fury. And of course, you've heard all about Kath because she's married to the one and only Chris Fury, who happens to be our cameraman today. Chris, we're here in Meetung. Could you do a little pan around to just show the Fozy how beautiful this place is and then come back to us? Beautiful, eh? What a spot, Kath.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, well, they're back with us. So, Kath, you get to hear the dulcet tones of Tom and Julie every Saturday and Wednesday.
I do.
You're not hooked on it like your husband is yet.
Well, I do ask him to put his headphones on, but it keeps him very occupied for a good length of time every Saturday morning.
Yeah. Now, I'm really thrilled to be here with you today because you're the next Commodore of Sandringham Yacht Club, which Chris, I know, is very proud of, and so am I, being a long-time friend. You're here as the Vice Commodore at the moment at the annual Easter Regatta at Meetung. Tell us a bit about that regatta and how good it's been.
It's amazing. So Sandringham Yacht Club has been coming to Meetung. This is the 64th year that our young sailors and their parents and some of our not so young sailors head down to Meetung for a really fun regatta.
World's oldest dinghy sailor, for example?
Yeah, like including Al. So great fun weekend that we have. Starts with some racing out on, this is Bancroft Bay out here behind us on the Friday, and a bit of a ladies cruise, which always ends well. Saturday, a race to Barrier Landing, which is a place that you can only get by boat, so a little passage race for the kids, so lots of fun. And then the very important Easter bunny toss on Sunday to make sure the kids and adults have plenty of chocolate.
And the Commodore gets to wear the bunny outfit, so you'll be wearing that next year.
Yeah, I'm excited for that bunny costume. Yeah.
That's Chris laughing in the background, by the way.
Yeah. And then highlight absolutely the Has-Beens race on Sunday afternoon, which are all the past international cadet sailors race for a very important trophy. So yeah, great weekend in this beautiful place.
Yeah, that's great, Kat. I've been doing it every year for 15 years and I love it. Now, incoming Commodore, this is later this year.
Yes.
And you've got some big things happening at Sandringham Yacht Club during your Commodoreship.
We do.
Can you tell us about a couple of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first 6 months particularly massive. We're calling it the big summer of sailing. So starting in November, we have the Epigen J24 World Championships being hosted at Sandringham. So lots of work going on in the background at the moment, getting ready for that, hoping to have like 40, 50 J24s from all around the world. January, we have the ILCA Under 21 World Championships, preceded by our nationals and state championships. So again, massive fleet expected at Sandy.
Do you reckon Jon Emmett will be coming out for that, Chris, for a bit of coaching?
Oh, one would hope so.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then April next year, straight after actually the Easter Regatta at Meetung, we are hosting the International Council of Yacht Clubs World Forum at Sandringham Yacht Club. So really looking forward to that. So I don't know how I'm going to find time to actually do my real job during that time, but it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of the forums. I went to one in Hong Kong and one in Annapolis. You went to the last one in London?
Yeah, London, the Royal Thames last year. So yeah, absolutely.
Expecting a couple of hundred delegates.
Yep.
And it's all about yacht clubs getting together to discuss how they can be better yacht clubs, right? The theme?
Collaborate to innovate, shaping the future of yacht clubs.
Yeah, so it's going to be about yacht clubs from all around the world getting together, sharing their stories, talking about growing youth membership, women in sailing.
Yep, absolutely. Also focusing on some of the iconic Australian parts around yacht clubs, about yacht racing. So we've just had a great morning with Al and our current Commodore Mark Welch sort of brainstorming possible keynote speakers. So what might we do around the Sydney Hobart, SailGP? Yeah, lots of exciting things in the planning.
We could get Tom Eamon to come out and talk about the America's Cup.
We could.
He could talk about the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, but we won't go there. All right, so that's going to be a big couple of years for you.
It is.
It's 2 years as Commodore.
2 years, yeah.
And you'll be worn out by the end of it.
I'm ready for a rest.
You get to deal with all the difficult members as well as all the good ones.
Yeah. Naughty ones, yeah. But lots of good ones.
Well, Kath, you will do a brilliant job.
I think so.
I'm proud of you. Great chatting to you today, and make sure you tune into Sailing Illustrated with your husband this coming week, okay?
I have to listen, mate. No. Yeah, okay. Thanks so much, Al.
Yeah. See you, Kath. Thanks, Chris.
But, how cool is that?
Really cool.
I think there were comments about how smooth the pan was that Chris Fury did. He must be on a tripod with a fluid head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he was doing that by hand. That was one of the coolest camera jobs we've seen. Yes. But does she? Women's intuition is better than mine. I was talking with Claire about this the other day. But even with my Crutonic old intuition, does she not sound like cool, nice,
absolutely
the exact kind of person you want as Commodore of your yacht club, male or female? Right?
Yes.
Catherine is very cool. Excellent AAA again. Thanks, Alistair and Chris and Catherine. Great stuff. Alistair sent along some other photos from that Easter weekend regatta, and just to give you some flavor of, they got tasers and they got everything else, 420s and a lot of other classes sailing. And you heard from Catherine and from Vice Commodore Fury about what goes on at Meetung Yacht Club for that regatta. And it just sounds like it's a great, cool time had by all.
Nice comments in the comments.
Yes, indeed. Julia, you've helped host a International Council of Yacht Club session here. Yes. You were one of the organizers when the thing was here 4 or 5 years ago.
I was
6 years
helped
ago.
With organizing it in the very beginning.
You did, John McNeil, and he was one of the founders of that. So that was pre-pandemic, right? So that was in 2019, 2018, something like that. But it was while we were doing this show.
Yeah.
Because I recorded their sessions for them and gave them videos which they could send on the keynote speakers on send to their other members. I have spoken, I appreciate Alistair's invitation. I'll go down and talk about the Royal New Zealand Yacht Club, who are a member of the ICOYC, so I don't think we'll talk about that. But I have talked several times, as Chris Otorowski will tell you, at his invitation.
It's an interesting group.
It was started, Chris is saying ICOYC was started in 2005. You know, what happens is that people who are other yacht club people and haven't been there and haven't seen it in action will poo-poo it or criticize it. Worse.
That's right.
That happens here at St. Francis.
Yes.
And they say,
well,
why is so-and-so going off to that? And we help, maybe the club maybe helps with an airfare or something, or sending the club's general manager at the club's expense. Why do we do that? This sounds like a big junket for past Commodores and our club manager. And yeah, to a degree it is. There's some of that. You can't get people to come together for a big session like this once or twice a year, because they have an annual big forum, which is obviously what they're having in Melbourne. And then they have regional meetings in Europe and in North America, and I think Oceania, or Asia anyway. But I can attest, having been involved, and actually I'm the deputy delegate from the Gstaad Yacht Club. I can attest that this is a most worthwhile organization, and as you heard Alistair say, for trading best practices.
Yes, absolutely.
Helping each other and clubs. How every club's got a different idea on doing stuff, and you get together and say, hey, we're trying to attract more young members, and somebody puts their hand up and says, well, here's what we did and it worked, or here's what we did and it didn't work. And it's, as you know, Julia, it's that exchange of opportunity.
Yes.
Chris Ferry agreeing, ICOYC forum is no junket. It's hard work for the overall benefit of the clubs. Totally agree, Chris. Okay, Alistair Murray, thank you very much. And Vice Commodore Fury for that interesting AAAA. And I actually have one other in the can from Alistair.
I've never seen a bad one from him.
Well.
Or even a minimal one from him. They're all excellent.
What do you expect from Alistair? President Emeritus, as we call him.
I know.
Alistair Murray's AAAA. Not to be confused with Alcoholics Anonymous or the American Automobile Association or anything.
America's Alcoholic Anonymous alumni.
Oh, is that an AAA? I thought that was the American Automobile Association. I wouldn't know about those things. Do you?
More than you?
No, I don't know. Last leg. We need some music with this. I got to put some music to this last leg to Gloucester. And we told you at the top of the show, we're going to talk about this 52 Super Series, which is coming up here in a few weeks, the first week of May in Puerto Portals. And they have a great season ahead of them. They have 3 new teams set to start, and it looks like they're going from success to success. 5 regattas. The season starts in less than a month's time, starts in 3 weeks. Racing out of Puerto Portals in Mallorca, there will be a fabulous place to sail. Fabulous place. There will be 3 new teams among the 14 boats. I think they're only getting 13 to this first regatta, but nonetheless, representing 11 different nations. When the America's Cup would be so lucky to have something like that. 14 teams from 11 nations competing on the legendary Bay of Palma at Puerto Portals, the 52 Super Series Sailing Week. And Julia, you would think poorly if I didn't have a teaser video.
Yes.
For those of you who've sailed there will attest. In fact, they just had the Princess Sophia Trophy, the Olympic Classes Regatta, and Matty Wyrn won that. Speaking of Australians, he won that again. He's back on the international stage, and he right out of the box won the laser event there. But this is big boats for this upcoming regatta in this beautiful venue of Puerto Portales. The 52 Super Series week will be the 4th through the 9th, as Blake Middleton says. Look at the 52s, actual sailboats with visible sailors actually sailing, Julia.
Yes.
Well said, Blake. Well said, Blake Middleton, up in Minnesota, where they do real sailing as well in the Scow country. Here's their teams. I thought we should just look at all their teams. These are the teams entered. There's 13, I believe. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 13 of the 14 teams that will be competing in this year's 52 Super Series will be at this first event in Puerto Portales. Bravo, Zulu. That deserves a BZ, Julia.
Yes, indeed.
Nicely done again. Strength to strength, real sailing, real boats. Right on.
Reminds me of Super 12s.
Well, Super 12s or whatever. Just let's do, in the cup, let's do box rule 80s.
Yeah.
Something. Box rule 72. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of a design component. You got to build a boat in your country.
Yep.
They're limited. Real sailors on real boats. That may have to become our theme, Julia. I try to, you were going to say something.
No, the 52s are fabulous, I think.
Indeed. We've seen them here on the bay.
Yeah, I know.
A Florida woman is facing charges after using a kayak in a shopping mall fountain while dressed as a pirate and shouting orders at shoppers.
Oh.
Now, why is that? Why does she deserve to be arrested? Well, I think it's not because she acted like a crouton, but because she used a kayak instead of a sailboat. If she were in a sailboat,
it'd be okay.
Took an Opti or something, one of those old little styrofoam cool boats or something, but not a kayak dressed as a pirate. That is clearly a violation. Thank you, Rick Bannerell, for sending that. The crime was she wasn't in a sailboat, I assert. WXYZ TV, that will be known by our Michigan friends. That's a television station in Detroit, in Detroit. Julia, we have to have a sexist joke here. This was sent on to me anonymously, so I'm going to call it anonymous. I bet he is thinking about other women. She's going to hit me when she smells that. You see this very same joke, and I bet he's thinking about other women. And then down there in the lower right, instead of talking about the Dutch oven, they're talking about, God, I wish I bought that boat, or I got to, I could have, some sporting thing, something other than talking about farting under the sheets. By the way, that's been a popular topic in the Super Fuzzy thread. I don't know why. Some crouton from Denmark brought that in, and I thought we would do this in his honor. The Fuzzy Gordon Smith, who seems to be on the tip of his typing tongue in the last few days. Doctor, my husband talks in his sleep at night. Give him the opportunity to speak during the day.
Oh.
That's also anonymous, Julia. Nobody wanted their name attached to it. But finally, from the drinking show with a sailing habit, Julia, I think you'll like this one. The raccoons are there relaxing on their boat under the moonlight, saying, "Don't leave any rum out. It will attract sailors." Chris Odorowski down in...
That's a great picture.
He's down in the Caribbean, and I'm sure he's not leaving any rum out because it might attract critters into his fabulous boat that he and Sean own and are competing.
And are using. That's really nice.
Sean and Chris and a lot of other people on this show actually do sail, are sailors, are boaters.
Right.
And lifelong for the most part. It's nice to see.
Really nice.
That came from another lifelong boater whose dad bought advertising from Ted Turner. Did you see that in the comments? Clayton Embley said that when Ted Turner's, his dad shot himself at the breakfast table one morning, Ted's dad, when they had a billboard business that was apparently struggling. Ted went around and in the same meeting, he went to all the people who had been bankers or were, somehow involved in financing the business. He went to all of them and said, "Don't worry, trust me." He was only 20-something.
Mm.
He'd been kicked out of Brown University because he was involved in some guys who were conducting panty raids on the women's dorms. I'm not kidding. And the marvelous, super bright, mouth of the South that Ted Turner is and has been, he not only convinced all those bankers and other backers to keep going. Then, as Clayton just said in the chat earlier on, he said he also sold them all advertising.
Yes.
Oh, what a guy. What a sport. Our beloved sport. All the smartest people sail. Blake Middleton, thank you for that. We always wrap the show up with that. And my dad's favorite saying, sailing isn't for everybody, but it is, Julia.
For anybody.
For anybody. And you can say at the finish line.
Yes. This is a special occasion to like, follow, and share, and with your friends and would-be sailors. They enjoy
and your family
and their family. Yes, they enjoy it. They're always amazed.
Say the next one too, so I don't have to say it.
Comments are always welcome in replay.
They are indeed. Ted Ryman, thanks for another great show. He's saying, I'm always blown away by the amount of work you do bring us. This cool. Yeah, putting the show together, as I've said, it takes some time and effort, but it's so worth it with my co-host. We love to do the show. We love everybody who comes and watches it. We get a couple thousand plus views per show, and we appreciate all the submissions from John, Alistair, and behind the scenes, we get a lot, not just the jokes in the D block, but I get a lot of submissions from people about, hey, what about this topic? Have you heard about that? And so on. And it's all greatly appreciated, as are those those of you who contribute via patreon.com/join/sailing illustrated. Keeps us afloat, keeps our equipment operating, keeps our stream fees paid, and we deeply appreciate your support. Julia.
Sure.
There is the water music, and we want to thank those who gave us THANKYOU. Somebody asked me the other day what those codes meant.
Yes.
Those of you who have let us have audio, images, and video, courtesy of all those folks. A reminder that on Friday, Julia, this gentleman will be our esteemed guest on Friday the 17th of April, Captain Jack, a.k.a. John Schaefer, talking about regatta crisis management. Their manual, their training should be a very interesting
and important
show on Friday. And I've managed to get through this show without losing it completely. And again, we dedicated this to a dear family member who passed away last night and will be missed, as I said, dearly. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much. I hope to see you on Friday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, do go sailing and sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.